Hi everyone, it's me, Laura Smothers Chu. I am the founder and CEO of Befriended Heart, where I help daughters navigate their parents' dementia. So I am here from Portland, Oregon, and I mentioned in my Facebook business page that I was going to be visiting the Memory Garden. And here I am. So bear with me. This is going to be the first video where I sort of am walking while talking. So we'll see how it goes. Um, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about this memory garden. So it's kind of in the middle of a somewhat suburban neighborhood. And it is essentially a partnership between public, private, nonprofit, and neighborhood associations. And it's a really cool project, I think. And it benefits a lot of people. I've seen about 4 or 5 people here so far sitting on benches. And I think the really cool thing is that, there's a lot of shaded area, but then there's also sunny areas. So you can kind of choose your own adventure as far as where you want to sit or how you want to experience this garden. It is, I'm going to get up now and kind of show you. So it is pretty small, which I think is actually okay for, especially since it's for people with dementia or other memory issues, and their caregivers to get respite. So I'm gonna just do a little circle here so you see the yellow flowers behind me and some of the pink flowers as well. There we go. And I'm kind of in this little grassy quad area, although I don't know if I would call it a quad since it's not a square, but it's like this little circle area of grass. So if someone wanted to come here with their kids, or we saw a couple here that had a picnic earlier, or, bring your dog. Dogs are allowed in the garden too, which I think is really great since I've established, in my dementia videos before that pets are really ideal to have, and cats and dogs or any fluffy things that people with dementia can pet, I think is really helpful. So I'm gonna just do sort of like a quick circle so you can kind of get an idea of the layout. So what's really cool is that in this partnership, one of the organizations involved is an architecture firm, and also a design firm. So and they did it in partnership with Alzheimer's Association and a couple of other ones. So I'll put that link below in the description, so you can read more about the memory garden. But it's such a cool project. And apparently this is one of 8 memory gardens in the US. So I'm kind of curious to see where the other ones are, and I'll try to find that out for you before I post this video. But as I'm walking around here in the circle, I want to mention that the circle design is actually really good for people with dementia, especially for people that wander. So, kind of if you have like a from start to finish type line, design in a garden, you can still get lost, right? Like you can still get to a dead end. But with this circle design, there's sort of no start or finish, and I think it's really beautiful in that way. So a lot of the flowers here, they're all seasons. So, no matter what time you come, there's always going to be something blooming, which I think is pretty awesome. And this is one of the really cool things I saw. So you'll see this little tree here, and there's these little tags where people have written their loved ones' names on there that have memory issues, I think the sign says. So I think that's cool. And then behind me, there's my husband there in the blue shirt. And you'll see these purple benches. Let's see if I can show them to you. So definitely like a sign of Alzheimer's Association being a partner for this project. And you'll see little spots for placards in the benches as well. So I'm not sure if you can still buy a placard or what's going on with that, but it's really cool. And they also have this area in the front here. Do you see that pagoda behind me? Underneath, they have a bunch of stones with people's names, and just for, confidentiality reasons, I'm not going to go over there and show those to you, but it's right at the entrance, and I think that's so awesome to remember, what this garden was created for, the type of people that they wanted to attract, right? I think that a lot of times we as caregivers or people with dementia are kind of forgotten about in the community, and this is an example of where that's totally not the case. And I think that's really great. So we have this purple bathroom behind me, which is also very convenient. It's handicapped accessible, which I think is really great because we do know that some people with dementia have walkers. As I mentioned, my dad just got a walker. And wheelchairs. So it's really cool that that's accessible for people. And I kind of checked it out myself, and it's pretty, it's fairly large, which is great. And kind of just showing you here, we got some kind of streetlight type things. So you can come here, I think, up until 8 p.m. I'll actually put the hours down below because I can't remember off the top of my head. But here's some other cool flowers behind me. Let's see if I can get those. Got a lot of yellow ones. And we got some like pink and red pansies here, which is pretty cool. Hope you're not getting dizzy from my moving the camera a lot. Yeah, so like all different kind of trees, and they actually made a point for the flowers to be scented. I've tried to kind of bend down and smell some of them, and they do smell good. But they're not scented enough there where you like, walk by, at least in this summer season, where you can really smell them. But that's okay. I mean, I think it's still a really enjoyable spot for people with dementia and their caregivers. So I think those are kind of the main highlights I wanted to make. I do think it's a little sad, and I know my husband brought up that, like, unfortunately, there's some like graffiti in a couple places, or someone carved a bench. So it's a little disappointing that, it kind of feels like it's disrespectful to people with dementia in this area. But, you need to kind of recognize that this is a public park, right? So everyone's going to visit and kind of use it for their own purposes. But I think it's really cool that, it was created with people with dementia in mind and their caregivers for respite. So behind me is the entrance here with the pagoda, and you kind of hear the cars, right? Because it's in a suburban area, so it can be a little loud. But I think one of the cool things is that the sign says that there are no, like, runners aren't allowed to go in here, and I think that's kind of interesting because if you think about it, if you're a person with dementia, someone running, around you or near you kind of gets you anxious, so I think that's kind of cool that they kept that in mind. And then here's the sign behind me here, and I know that's backwards for you, but it says Portland Memory Garden. And the hours are 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. all days. So if you're in the Portland area, whether you live here or if you're going to be visiting like I am for a few days, definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. And, it would be good inspiration. Like, if you want to start something like this in your neighborhood, this would be a good model to go from. And I'm really curious to see where the other 7, memory gardens are in the U.S. So I'll look that up, and I will put that in the information below in the description. And I will see you next time. Bye.